If I remember right, you became a divisional CFOs in your 30s and you were leading teams of hundreds of people. So in that process, not just of going from operations, from accounting to operations back to finance, but going to finance at such a high level, at such a young age, like what did you also have to change to lead effectively?
Well, and again, it comes back to that situational leadership. When I first came into the divisional CFO role, I was 35 years old, and I had 6 direct reports. Now, this organization was about 150 people, and so I had staff level reporting to supervisors, reporting to division managers, reporting to then ultimately to me.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of the 6 of them were 60 years of age or older. And one of them actually came in for our first meeting, and he had known me, and I'd been with the company then about 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have been about, probably been 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he came into me and he did this. He said, I can do this. Yeah, I can make this work. I'm gonna do this. And then he looked up at me and I said, Dave, his name was Dave also. I said, what was that all about? And he said, Dave, I've worked for people younger than me. I have in the past. I'm going to be working for you now. And in the future, I'll probably work for others that are younger than me. But I've just never worked for anybody younger than my son.
Ooh.
And so right then I knew, okay, how am I going to lead somebody like this who knew me the day I walked in the door as a staff level accountant? He's in pricing, parts pricing. He's been doing that job for 15 years, and he'd been at Caterpillar for over 35 years. And now I've got to lead him with an attitude like that. Well, guess what? So situational leadership, I said, I need to take him to zone 4. And zone 4 says, you work with him, you don't abandon him, you agree upon the objectives, but ultimately you get out of his way. He knew more about parts pricing than I ever will,
Mm-hmm.
or ever would for that matter back then. And so I said to him, I said, Dave, what do you need? And he said, I need you to stay out of my way. I know what I'm doing. I can get the job done. I've been doing it for years, and just let me do my job. I said, okay, great. But I'm going to meet with you on a regular basis. We've agreed upon the goals, and I want to make sure if there are any obstacles or anything there that I'm helping you remove them. And he said, that's great. That's what I need. And he said, but you won't do that. And the reason you won't do that is because you're an accountant. And I've worked for accountants before, and they get busy with debits and credits and closing the books. And, oh, wait, don't forget about your budgets. You got to roll those up. Oh, they're so important. And whenever I need my boss, he's never there. And so you won't be either. So I remembered that.
Wow.
And on the rare occasion where he needed me to be in his corner, when somebody was trying to make a decision that was not very good, and he knew it, and I knew it, even if it was up to the CEO of the company, I was there with him to support him. And 5 years after he retired, he was playing in a band, and a group of people that either worked for him or worked with him, about 20, 25 of us, came out to listen to him play. And at a break, he came over, big smile on his face, and he put his arm around me in front of everybody else. He did this with nobody else. He just walked over to me and he goes, I just wanted to let you know, in all my years at Caterpillar, you're the best boss I ever had.
Wow.
Now, the reason I tell that story is not because I was a good leader, but because when you embrace a concept called situational leadership, it really works. It makes a difference. And it's just in a very simplified, summarized way,
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand where the person's at in their journey. Don't judge others entirely by the years and yardstick of your own experience. If you've got a new employee, they're like a dog with a bone. They're excited, they're enthused, but they don't necessarily know what to do. So you have to be more directive in your approach and less coaching in nature. Here's what I want you to do. Here are the 10 steps. Once you get that done, come back and see me. When you get to zone 2, you've got somebody that maybe's been on the job 6, 9 months, and they're starting to go, whew, is this it? Is this all I'm going to be doing for the next 40 years? By the way, I don't know if I'm job failing or not. I don't think I'm learning anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you still have to be fairly directive, but you have to step back and do more coaching and say, no, no, you're doing fine. You really are. Pause for a moment and think about where you were 6 to 9 months ago. You didn't even know where the bathrooms were. Now you know how this works, you know how that works, you understand the 10 steps you're supposed to be working on. So it's more a combination. But when they get to zone 3, it's one where you get a new project and you bring in the employee and they say, great, boss, what do you want me to do? And that's where you go, no, I want you to tell me what you think we should do. Well, boss, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. Sure you can. You've done 6 other projects in the last 2 years that are very similar to this. So go out, think about those projects, how they relate to this one, come back to me with a plan, and we'll talk about it together and we'll agree upon it.
Nice.
Now, it would have been easy for me in that situation to do the plan and tell them exactly what to do. It took more time this way, but it built confidence in that employee the next time knew exactly what to do. And it builds them into then zone 4, which is they know as much or more about it than I do. And I can just let them get out of the way and go do it. That's situational leadership. And if you build like that, then you get the best staff possible.
Wow. Thank you so much for this great breakdown of what situational leadership is. So you talked about zone 1, they're brand new, and that's when you need to be more directive. And then as you move to zone 2 and 3, you get more into the coaching and less directive. But what about zone 4? I think that's where your former employees was in.
So with zone 4, that's heavily in delegation.
Okay.
And so there it's, if you have a project or if there are even just common processes, you agree upon what are the objectives. Again, let's get a clear picture together, the same picture in our mind of what done looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. A lot of companies talk about finance transformation.
Gosh.
I hate finance transformation. And here's why. Because what's it mean? It means if there are 100 people in an audience, there are 100 different pictures in their minds of what transformation means. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say transformation, but you have to follow it with transformation at our company means moving from this XYZ system to this new ABC system. And it also means taking a process that used to take 2 days and applying artificial intelligence to get it down to 2 minutes or whatever. But everybody then has the same picture in their mind. It's like if I said to you, hey, we're going to go watch a football game and we're going to do it in September. And that's all I tell you. What are the odds we're going to end up at Soldier Field watching the Chicago Bears play their home opener at 12 noon, getting a hot dog and a beer? It won't happen.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, we're going to go see a football game, it's going to be the Bears. It's going to be on September 12th. It's going to be at 12 noon. And we're going to get a hot dog and a beer together and just have a great afternoon. The odds are pretty good that you and I have the exact same picture in our mind of what done looks like.
Yes.
And you may take a train, I may take a plane, whatever, may take a car. We may take different routes, but at least we have the same endpoint in mind. So with that zone 4, you get everybody on the same wavelength. And then you say, hey, you don't even have to necessarily go over the plan with them of how they're going to do it. They've driven that route to that destination so many times. You just say, now that we know we're going to Chicago, hey, Joe, Bob, whoever, go get us there. And if you have a problem along the way or you have a breakdown, you got a flat tire, call me. I'll be glad to roll up my sleeves and help you fix the flat tire and help you get there. I'll remove any obstacle you got. I'm just going to let you drive the car.
Wow, this is so impactful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm curious to hear, like, how did you first learn about situational leadership? Is it something that you learned the hard way? Was it a training? Because I'm always curious because I realize now that, as a CFO, as any finance leader, once you pass manager, you're dealing more with people than with numbers. Like 99% of what you do is leadership and leading people. So I really like this kind of frameworks that can help. So curious to hear how the concept probably evolved for you.
Well, early on at Caterpillar, when this is way back in the late 80s and early 90s, when they identified people as potential leaders of other people, they had a series of training courses, and you started with something called social styles, where you really went in and you learned to assess other people. Mm-hmm. And for example, I am an amiable driver. Driver is my core or foundational strength or social style, if you will. The amiable part of it is kind of a subset. That basically means that I'm very task oriented, and I am, if you got a list of things to do, I love to check off the boxes, get them done, and move on. The amiable is, but I tend to have the ability to also work with people along the way. There are multiple other styles. Some people are very into what they call woo, or in other words, they're very good with other people. It's all about how they feel and how the other people feel. And they're not very task oriented. So they're not all about getting the task done as fast and efficiently as possible. So those two social styles, just as an example, clash. Because I'm over there constantly going, come on, let's go, let's get it done, let's go. And for you, if you were more of a woo type person, you might be, well, yeah, we'll get there, okay? But how are you feeling? You know what? And let's talk a little bit about the situation. How did you feel when this project came out with this answer and this analysis? Who cares? Let's move on. So when you do that, that's step one. Step two was another training program, and it was called Situational Leadership. And it was external training packages that Caterpillar purchased at the time and took us through. But it really did allow you to learn the difference between being a manager and being a leader. So many people think they are leaders, but in reality, managers maintain the status quo. Leaders set bold but achievable goals. They innovate. Okay. Managers use their titles and position authority. Leaders leverage their reputation, and people want to follow them because they're inspired by that leader to want to do the thing that has to get done as much or more than the leader does. So it takes on a life of its own, and people just go to the end destination. Managers do things right. Leaders do the right things. And managers also share minimal information where leaders share absolutely as much as they can. And managers coach the team as it exists. And this actually came from the head coach of Bradley University and their men's basketball team. But he says, look, I don't coach the players that I have, and I don't coach the team that I have. I assess their potential, and then I coach the players for the players that they can be at the peak of their potential. And I coach the team at that same way. So I push them to accomplish and achieve more than they even thought they could possibly do. And my last one is managers manage change management. I hate it. Okay. Leaders lead improvements. Okay. So you can do change leadership or you can do change management. And think about this. What do people do when you talk about change? They go, change? You want me to change? Well, no. See, what I'm doing is fine. I like what I'm doing. I understand it. Now, Wassia over here, she's got some problems. Maybe you should go work on her stuff because she probably needs to change. Just leave me alone and I'm doing good. But if I were to come forward and say, if there were a way that you could improve the way you do your work, you'd probably want to know about it, wouldn't you? Now, all of a sudden, the body language is, well, wait a minute. You mean you could help me free up some of my time from the mundane things that I don't like to do, that don't add much value, and give me more time to do the things I do like to do where I can add more value? Well, tell me more. What do I need to do? That's change leadership. And it's just one of a 6-ingredient recipe I've got on leading improvements as opposed to managing a change. But the first step is really getting in and talking about leading an improvement with the employees.